Ordinary income, ordinary savings, extraordinary results. Let me show you how to build a portfolio and make yourself financially free whilst working a 9 to 5. The median household wealth in the UK is £293,700, give or take, and the wealthiest 10% have £1.2 million, and the poorest have a net worth of £16,500 or less. And I know so many of us will be watching this and going, oh, I feel pretty shit about myself. But where do you sit? And more importantly, where do you want to sit 10 years from now? It's really important you understand this, that yes, the past impacts the present, but it doesn't need to impact the future. The decisions you make today can really accelerate your journey. Median household wealth figures take into account property ownership, pension pots, and savings. So some of you might be hearing those figures and celebrating, and some of you might be thinking, fuck, not good. It can seem like a really big money milestone moment, kind of like being a millionaire. It's not just not on the cards for me, it's completely unattainable. But sometimes all it takes is a step outside of the pattern and routine that you're wired in to believe that this is the correct way to make money faster than you think. So my personal money journey over the last 10 years started with me being £33,000 in debt. I become a net worth millionaire within 5 years and a multi-decker millionaire within 10 years. And we did 10.8 million last year alone in property. In today's video, I want to show you how to explore wealth and the difference between an individual with a 9 to 5 job in the UK, average salary, etc., versus somebody that invests in property. So we're going to take Paul and Pete. They have both the exact same savings, the exact same salary, just different decisions from today. And we're going to follow their wealth journey over a 10-year period, assuming no pay rises and no external investment. And then at the end of the video, I want to show you the next 4 moves that you need to make to start your millionaire journey. And by the way, I know some of you are watching this going, I've only got 50 grand. And some of you are watching this going, I've got about £3.50, Jamie. I can just about afford the internet to watch this video. Bear with me. Every single one of you watching this can improve your financial future. So before we jump into how we're going to do this, let's start by getting a bit of a brief understanding of how wealth builds over time. And this is something that Einstein said. He said, compound interest. Those who understand it earn from it, and those who don't pay for it. And this, of course, compound interest, the 8th wonder of the world. Compound interest is when you earn interest on your original money and on the interest on the money that's already been earned. So for example, if I have £100,000 and I get 10% return, at the end of year 1, it's 110,000. The next year, I make 10% of the 110,000, which is another 11,000. So now I have 121,000. So that small increase, you go, oh, it's increased 10 grand year 1, then 11 grand year 2. You're like, oh, whatever. Compound and time is the big multiplier. It's the steroids on your gym workouts. Like it really, really is going to maximize the upside. Your money makes money, and then your money that made money makes more money. Or if you really want it simply, it's A equals P times, in brackets, 1 plus R to the power of NA equals P divided by and times the 1 minus R to the power of NA equals PX 1 minus R plus R, times N, obviously, right? And by the way, that's the formula. It basically means compounding. What a ridiculous formula to get a very simple outcome. Time is your biggest asset. Let's break it down. The earlier you start, the more powerful compounding becomes. In investing, compounding is what drives exceptional growth. Let's get into an actual example. So let's look at 2 situations. We've got Pete and we've got Paul. Paul is same as Pete in every way. They earn the same money, they've got a regular life, they've got a decent amount of savings, but an average really. And then you've got Pete, and the only real difference isn't their ability to save. Both of these are good with their money, they earn okay money, they save okay money. But Pete makes a very different decision. Okay, Pete makes the decision to invest in property as early as possible, and Paul decides, actually, I'm just going to keep a decent amount of interest. So they're both 30. All right, Paul's 30, he lives in the UK, he has 10k in savings, a 9 to 5 job, earning £37,000 a year, which is the average salary including London. And he shows no interest in property. Pete, he's 30, lives in the UK, 10k savings, 9 to 5 job, 37k. Pete has started to research ways that he can grow wealth, and he's decided to get into boring, vanilla buy-to-let properties. Go Pete. we can tell where this is going to end. So for us to get an even comparison of wealth growth over the years, we need to make some assumptions. So here are the assumptions. Number one, both save at the same amount each year. Both are achieving 3% interest in the bank. There are no salary increases, and after tax, they're earning £30,159.90, which is the take-home pay of somebody earning 37k. What they're also doing is they are managing to save 20% of their take-home salary, and I can hear it already. We can't save that. Yes, you can. You just choose not to. It's prioritizing in many single ways, and I look forward to the hate comments on that. But every single one of us can save that if we make some hard choices in our life. But for Pete and Paul, that's £6,031.92 every single year. Let's compare how they end up at the end of each year. The first 5 years, they're looking very similar. The reality is you can't buy a property with 16k, and the difference really comes in when Pete can take action. He does. If Pete was smart, he could have invested in an index fund in the meantime, which I would probably recommend. Put it in the S&P 500 or the FTSE 100, just an index fund that's tracking upwards, because it would get way more than 3%. Just a little side tip there whilst you're going on. But to make sure he's getting better returns, we're going to make the assumption that he invested at 3% on his ROI. And that would have been doubled if he invested in stocks and shares to 6-7%, but for the purpose of this vehicle, let's keep it similar. We're going to assume they're starting at 30, and at 30, they've got the 10 grand savings, and they've put in the 6 grand plus on there. So end of year one, both have 16,512. Shock horror. At 31, both have 23,221. Okay. At 32, both have 30,130. By the way, it's getting pretty cool, right? 33, 37,247.71 pence. At 34, 44,578 pounds and 8 pence. At 35, 52,128 and 36 pence. But here is where the divide truly starts. And I'm going to read it out from here, by the way, so you can understand the divide. What happens at the end of year 5, going into year 6, is Paul keeps his money building. And he thinks he's doing well, by the way. And by the way, he's doing better than most people. Really worth recognizing that. But Pete decides to invest in property. Now, investing in property, we're going to assume an average of 5% capital growth here, okay? And very, very, like the boring vanilla buy-to-let basic numbers that we achieve for ourselves and our clients every single year. The wealth divide starts to divide. So Paul now has £59,905.15 to his name. Pete has 65,117. You might think, well, that's only a really small difference, but actually the impact is really about to start. Now, to clarify, of that 65,117, £58,905 is in the property, okay? So that's going to be cash flow and capital growth there, and then the rest is building up in cash. Now let's see how the divide goes up. So 37, Paul is at £67,915, whilst Pete is at 79 grand. At 38 is at 76 grand and 94 grand for Pete. At 39 it's 84 grand for Paul and 110,000 for Pete. And at 40 you've got 93 grand for Paul and 130,000 for Pete. So the key here is how it really starts to accelerate. So what Pete did at 35 is he accumulated enough to buy his first buy-to-let, and he went all in with it. £52,000 is what he ploughed into that investment, which is the deposit and all fees, stamp duty, refurb, etc. So Pete versus Paul really starts to divide at that point. The interesting bit, by the way, is also at year 10, because what then happens is Pete now has enough money to buy another property, and that's from, again, that cash input, but also he's going to refinance the property again at the 5-year mark of owning it and then reinvest. So this is something that we call combined returns, which is capital growth and the rental increase that has come in, which is going to average our investors, which is what we get for ourselves and our investors, is 13% year on year, which is absolutely insane. And the idea is to help people grow their portfolios. So you have to remember, when you're investing in property, you're not buying cash. You're putting down a 25% deposit. And so suddenly that equity portion is growing at around 13% per year, which is absolutely insane. And by the way, I'm not going to break down year on year, but I just want to read out here, and I've done the calculations on compounding. So at 45, assuming like very basic investment levels, and they both started with putting 10K and nothing has changed there. So in reality, they're going to earn more and everything else. But let's just keep it as simple as that. Just by putting those two things in, at 45, so this is 15 years on, Paul, our savvy saver but not investor, has got £131,133.60. That's not to be sniffed at. That is really good. But let's compare it. Pete has £219,713. That's no rental increases or anything like that, which absolutely would have happened. At 50, so now there's 20 years of investment, no new money. This is a really big thing, by the way. All they did is started with those savings and then put £500 a month away. That is crazy. Paul has 185,000 saved up. That is amazing. Pete, from savings and property, has increased his net worth by £394,673. I just want to do a calculation quickly. So over that 20-year period, both have invested 130 grand, give or take, in total, of which Paul's made 185,000 on that 130, which is a 42% return. Not too shabby on that money, right? Which is crazy. But if we go for the 395-ish thousand that Pete's made, and we divide that by the 130, he has made 204% on top of his investment, which means he has tripled his investment over that period, which is absolutely staggering. So Pete has invested 130K and essentially got back 400,000. Now, this isn't an active investor. This isn't somebody going all in. This is somebody that has made a shrewd investment opportunity, and it already looks like that. Now, here's the thing, right? Every single one of you can take action on this today, but the problem is people don't, because they only look at what's going to come back in the next few years. But if you look at my situation, obviously I worked hard, I built a business, I ploughed every penny that I could, and I went from minus 33 grand to a multi-8-figure net worth within 10 years. Now, I'm not saying everyone's going to follow in that journey, but a huge portion of that is by investing in great properties and letting time do its thing. Property is not just about the cash flow increases and everything like that. It's about the strong capital growth that you can achieve. So look, this isn't about Paul being an idiot. I think Paul represents the top 20% of the people that I've ever met. Like, you have to make these savings. You have to make these short-term sacrifices. And I think the issue is everyone wants to live their best life today instead of going, what are the actions I need to make today? What are the sacrifices that I need to make today so that I can save and invest? Make, manage, and multiply. Both Paul and Pete have made some money and managed their money well, but only Pete decided to multiply. And this is who I want to talk to. I want you to be Pete in this example. I don't want you to be Paul. There's no time like now to start building this wealth creation journey. So if you'd like help growing your portfolio, put grow in the comments and I'll send you a link where you can actually book in a one-to-one call with me and the team to give you some personalized advice, and maybe I can actually help you build the portfolio. Now, being open with you, this is if you're at Pete's stage in year 5. So if you've got 50K to invest and you want to start building your portfolio, I will help you do it. So for those of you that really want the next steps, here are the next 4 key moves to start your millionaire journey. Number 1, make sure you have the right money mindset that both Paul and Pete had at the beginning. You need to start from somewhere, all right? So start accumulating this wealth. If you're watching this and you were like me with 33 grand debt, okay, that sucks. But order your debt, get them in order of smallest to biggest debt, and start chipping away and then cut up the credit card and move to the next. It takes time, but you need to get that thing in place. Then get your first £1,000 savings. Ramsey says this a lot. You need to get your debt cleared, then get your first £1,000, and then start building up and investing. Personally, I'd look at some basic index funds. Honestly, don't buy individual stocks. I'm not financially giving advice here, but buy the S&P 500, buy the FTSE 100, you'll be absolutely fine. And then start building this up. Now use those few years, this is number 2, to build up those savings and deposit pot. And it's important to start understanding the market and assessing the market, or indeed outsource the process so that you can save time of having the hassle to then being able to do it yourself. And by the way, if you're at stage 2, you've got the money and you want me to build your portfolio for you, then I can open up a few spots, put grow in the comments. My team will send you a link, fill in your details, and you will actually be able to book in a completely free one-to-one call with me or my team, and we'll look at how we can help you build your portfolio for those that have got the savings. Now, when you're looking to invest in that first buy-to-let, look for properties with lower entry points. So you want to be investing in the northern cities. I'm just going to tell you, make this easy. West and South Yorkshire. Yes, that's where I invest. So yes, I am creating competition for myself, but I don't want to hold back anything. There's so much opportunity for us all to make money. You should be focusing there. All right. Focus there. Also add a little value. Now, I'm not talking about these £30,000 refurbishments or anything like that, but what I am saying is if you could add 5-10 grand just to attract a better tenant type, that's going to be really powerful. And finally, you want to be ensuring that you look at your mortgages and your refinance options early. One of the key things that makes you so much money in property is leverage. You want to use other people's money, or a mortgage in this case. So just talk to a good mortgage broker. For those of you that book in a call, I'll link you up with our mortgage broker that does all of my mortgages, and they'll make sure you're getting not only the best product, but make sure you've got all of the ammo. So when you're putting in offers, here's my mortgage in principle, here's my deposit, please take me seriously and get the best deals. You want the best products that can allow equity release in the future and allow you to reinvest as part of your property strategy. So there you have it. A look at a 9-to-5 wealth projection versus a property investor's wealth projection. And when you look at it like that, it seems like a no-brainer really, doesn't it? Property is all about the future. It's all about long-term wealth. It's not about get rich quick. And it really works. Over the last 10 years, I've built a personal portfolio of almost 200 properties, and we've built portfolios of over 1,000 properties for our investors. I promise you, I'm saying this from a place of, I've literally this morning been on the phone trying to close more deals. I'm doing this every single day. And if you're not ready to invest, at least subscribe to channels like this. Just digest the information, and the figures don't lie. All right, trust your gut, go all in, and I promise you your financial future will be completely different. I hope you found this video helpful. If you are ready to invest, you know what to do. Just put grow in the comments. I'll put the link in and fill it in. Have a no obligation phone call. And even if I can give you some one-on-one advice on how to build that portfolio to the next step, that's going to be great. But really, I want to work with people like you who've got 50 grand or more to start building the portfolio, and we'll take care of everything from sourcing all the way to managing the property completely hands-free. By the way, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.